Alright guys, welcome back to another video on the Texas Rangers report. The All-Star break is over, the MLB draft is over, and now the trade deadline is approaching, and since the Rangers are in last place in the AL West, obviously they're going to be sellers at the trade deadline. It's all about who are the Rangers going to be selling, and Joey Gallo has 1.5 years left on his contract, and it would make sense for the Rangers to sell high on him right now because he is absolutely mashing at the major league level. He was just an all-star, and he's hitting for power. He had a stretch where he hit 10 home runs in 10 games in a row. His on-base percentage, I believe, is over 400, depending on when this video gets out. He's absolutely a stud. His speed's above average, and he plays Gold Glove defense. He does strike out, but he has reinvented the league where you can strike out and still be a productive player, and he gets that done with his power and his walks. But obviously, this video is a trade video about Joey Gallo, and the two teams that have shown interest in him is one, the New York Yankees, and two, the San Diego Padres. And these make sense because one, the Yankees, it seems like whenever there is a really good bat on the trade market, they're always interested. Manny Machado comes to mind. It seems like they've been interested in Trevor Story, but who knows if they'll actually trade for Story. They might be interested in Kyle Schwarber. They're just always interested in a lot of trade market bats. I wouldn't even be surprised if they're interested in Chris Bryant. And then going to the San Diego Padres, their GM, Preller, was the assistant GM of the Texas Rangers whenever the Rangers drafted Joey Gallo back in 2012. So there is connections there, and the Yankees have already talked about Joey Gallo in a trade talks with the Texas Rangers. But here's where I stand on this. I get selling Joey Gallo high while his value is high, but he's only 27, 28 years old. And if the Rangers want to compete relatively soon, like 2023, I'd rather have Joey Gallo on those competing clubs rather than trading for a prospect that you hope will be a star, because the Rangers have gotten burnt on a lot of trades. The one that comes to mind is the Yu Darvish trade. We traded for Willie Calhoun, and he hasn't panned out yet. He could still pan out, but things aren't looking too great. So my thought is, well, why not keep the star that you already have on your team and extend him? I get that he's going to be a free agent, but you could extend him because you already have Adolis Garcia, you have Joey Gallo, you can sign Trevor Story in the offseason, who you've shown interest in. You've already drafted Jack Leiter, you have Colwyn in the system, you have Dane Dunning, you have Colby Allard, you have Sam Huff, Josh Young, Adolis Garcia, Nate Lowe. The pieces are there, and I would much rather keep Joey Gallo and not compete, if that makes sense, rather than getting burnt on a Joey Gallo trade and not compete. But I'd rather trade Joey Gallo rather than not extending him, because then you just let him walk in free agency without getting any return. That would be the worst case scenario. But the prospects that we have to get back have to be legit prospects. Joey Gallo isn't a guy who's just been to an all-star game because it's the only guy that the team can represent. He's actually one of the best players in this league. I would say one of the top 30 players in this league. If you go to Fangraphs and you look at WAR accumulated by all the players this year, Joey Gallo is second in the American League for outfielders in WAR. The only guy that is higher than him is Cedric Mullins, and he has been one of the top WAR getters among the American League outfielders for the past 3 years now. So it just goes to show that even though he doesn't have a high batting average, that doesn't matter. He's still getting the job done. So if I'm looking at the Yankees, I don't know. Their top prospect is Jason Dominguez. He's obviously, I think he'll be a stud, but he's not that close to the major leagues. I think the Rangers have to be getting a top 50, top 100 prospect. But I think they also have to be close to major league ready. Jason Dominguez isn't close to major league ready. They might go for a guy like Clark Schmidt and maybe another top pitching prospect like Luis Gil. So maybe the Rangers would settle for Clark Schmidt and Luis Gil from the New York Yankees, because Clark Schmidt, I believe, is a top 100 prospect, and then Luis Gil is another top prospect for the New York Yankees, and they're both major league ready or close to major league ready, but still I don't know if that would push the needle for the Texas Rangers. And then if I'm moving to the San Diego Padres, I think I have to be asking for CJ Abrams, because the Texas Rangers were asking for CJ Abrams last year in trade talks for Joey Gallo, and they weren't getting the Padres to budge. So I think that's where I have to start negotiations again, because Joey Gallo, his OPS is about 250 ticks higher than it was last year. His OPS is like 900 right now. Last year was 650, I believe. So that's where I got to start. I think CJ Abrams will be a stud, plus hitter. Not too much power, but great fielding, great speed. And who knows what's going to happen with IKF. IKF, a great fielder, but the verdict's still out on his hitting. So yeah. Do I want the Rangers to trade Joey Gallo? No. I think this could be a situation where they keep him through another year of a rebuild, kind of like what the Braves did with Freeman, kind of like what the White Sox did with Jose Abreu. But if the Rangers do trade him to the Yankees or the Padres, it's not going to be cheap. I know that not a lot of prospects get traded nowadays, but if you're the Yankees, don't think you're going to trade Clint Frazier for Joey Gallo, and that's going to be the headliner in the deal. Clint Frazier is only 1 year younger than Joey Gallo and far less proven, so that's way too risky for the Texas Rangers. That might get John Daniels fired, if we're being honest. That's just too stupid. And if you're the Padres, don't think that we're not going to ask for one of your top 4 prospects. Obviously, we're not getting Mackenzie Gore, but I think the Rangers are definitely going to ask for Robert Hassel or their catcher. I forget his name, but he's your top catching prospect, or CJ Abrams. That's where the negotiations are going to start for Joey Gallo. We're not going to undersell him, and if we're not getting the offers, we're definitely going to keep him, maybe extend him, or we're going to look for offers in the offseason, kind of like the Lance Lynn situation. So later on, I'm going to have proposed trades for Joey Gallo to the Yankees, to the Padres, and to other teams as well, because a lot of teams are going to be interested in him, because he's going to be one of the top bats on this year's trade market, as well as Chris Bryant. But with that being said, thank you for staying to the very end of the video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up down below, and subscribe to the channel, because I'm your #1 source for all things Rangers on YouTube. And with that being said, I'll see you on the next one. Peace.